Welcome back to an introduction to basic concepts of maintenance and reliability. In this lecture, we're going to discuss a very core and foundational method used for controlling manufacturing processes called Statistical Process Control, or SPC, while focusing on the tool that laid the foundation for SPC, that is, the control chart. In the early days of industrial manufacturing, the objective of a process was often defined narrowly. It was to produce as much as possible, as cheaply as possible, and just keep the machines running. Processes were inconsistent, quality varied from batch to batch, and deviations were often seen as uncontrollable. For example, cement industry origins can be traced back to 1840s and 50s. At that time, cement was produced in a batch process using bottle kilns. It involved mixing, that is, producers mixed limestone and clay, often by hand or with horse-powered mills, into a slurry. Drying, that is, the wet mixture was spread out on drying floors heated by waste gases. Firing, that is, the dried bricks were stacked into a kiln with layers of coke acting as fuel and fired for several days. And finally, grinding, that is, the resulting clinkers were ground into powder using millstones. The only way to know if a batch was good was to wait until it was ground and used in construction. In short, the manufacturing process was unreliable, inconsistently producing cement of a certain quality. As time passed and industry evolved, the concept of actually controlling a process to improve its reliability emerged. In 1924, Walter Shewhart, a physicist at Bell Laboratories, who later came to be known as the father of statistical quality control, authored a historic memo that included the first control chart. This tool allowed managers to evaluate the process by identifying whether variation was common cause, that is, random, or assignable cause, that is, a specific problem. The control chart is a fundamental tool of statistical process control to this very day. In fact, it was the control chart that evolved into the whole discipline and methodology of SPC. At its core, a control chart is a time-based graphical representation of a process variable. It plots data points in the order they are collected and compares them against statistically derived limits. These limits help us distinguish between normal process behavior and abnormal conditions that require attention. A typical control chart consists of three key elements: a center line, which represents the average or mean value of the process, an upper control limit, or UCL, and a lower control limit, or LCL. These control limits are not arbitrary. They are calculated based on the natural variation of the process. For example, let's say there is a production shop that manufactures shafts of 50 millimeters diameter. The diameter is a critical process variable. Measuring the diameter of every shaft the shop manufactures is critical process data. Now, it is obvious that not all of the shafts produced in a plant will be exactly of 50.00000 millimeters. It can't be possible. So maybe the first shaft produced has a diameter of, let's say, 50.02 millimeters. The second shaft has a diameter of 49.97 millimeter, and so on. The first step towards creating a control chart is to gather data, ideally hundreds or thousands of observations, so that the natural behavior of the process can be understood. With all that data, the very first thing you can calculate is the average diameter of the shafts produced by the shop. Let's say the average comes out to be 49.99 millimeters. The fundamental concept of a control chart lies in the question: how much variation from this mean value is acceptable? At first glance, you might think the answer lies with the customer. So if the customer allows plus minus 1 millimeter tolerance, then anything between 49 millimeters and 51 millimeters should be acceptable. So does that mean that 49 millimeters is the lower control limit and 51 millimeters is the upper control limit? No, that is not the case. This is in fact one of the most common misconceptions about control charts. What the customer defines are specification limits, not the control limits. Specification limits come from the voice of the customer. They define what is acceptable from a product standpoint. But control charts are not about what the customer wants. They are about how the process behaves. That is, voice of the process. So how do we define control limits? Control limits are calculated using the natural variation present in the process data itself. Let's say we collected diameters of 20,000 shafts produced by the shop under normal condition. The first thing we do is to calculate the mean or the average. Once we have the mean, we calculate the standard deviation, which tells us how much the data typically varies around the mean. Using this, upper control limit is defined as mean plus 3 standard deviations, while the lower control limit is defined as mean minus 3 standard deviations. These limits represent the expected range of variation if the process is operating under normal stable condition. If you're wondering what's the significance of 3 standard deviations, let me briefly explain it without sidetracking our main topic. In statistics, one of the most interesting observations is that data from many natural and industrial processes tends to form what is called a normal distribution, which is commonly visualized as a bell-shaped curve. It shows that the data clusters around the average in a typical way. Standard deviation is a key concept within this. It measures how spread out the data is around that mean. If the data points are tightly grouped, the standard deviation is small. On the other hand, if they are more spread out, it is larger. In simple terms, it tells us how much the process naturally varies. To understand this better, think of one standard deviation as a typical distance from the average. A normal distribution can be divided into these fixed distances for analysis. In a normal distribution, 68.2% of all data points fall within plus minus 1 standard deviation of the mean. 95.45% of the data falls within plus minus 2 standard deviations, and 99.73% data falls within plus minus 3 standard deviations. In short, plus minus 3 standard deviations represent majority of the data points. This is the reason why we use 3 standard deviations to define the control limits in a control chart. The upper and lower control limits tell us what is normal variation in shaft diameters produced by a normally running manufacturing process. Now, once the statistical study has concluded, based on the 20,000 observations, we get the skeleton of the control chart. This skeleton involves the mean, the upper control limit, and the lower control limit, which is calculated from the data gathered from 20,000 observations. It allows us to compare the diameter of every future shaft produced by the shop with the control limits that we have developed. Any point falling outside of the control limit will actually be telling us that it is different from 97.3% of the shaft diameters that we recorded during the study of 20,000 shafts. So it's a big deal. Therefore, it would be inferred that this variation is not normal. It is a strong indication of an assignable cause. Something may be wrong with the process. However, this is not the only observation that can be made from control charts. There are more behaviors that control charts can reveal than just a single point being outside the control limits. We will discuss 5 more typical behaviors and their interpretation in the next lecture.